Bonjour, or good morning. Je ne parle pas français, so I will do it in English. Yannick introduced me already. I'm Jaap Jonker. I'm sales manager of De Grote Slot. I'm sales manager for the Benelux. We sell a lot of seeds, we sell sets, we sell shallots. We do it not directly to the grower, but we deal with the partners we have in the Benelux. So we sell our seeds by dealers. I will tell something about the onion, about the worldwide impact of the onion, about the impact of breeding to the onion, also the cooperation we have, or we must have, at least to overwin all the challenges we have in the future, in the near future. So the first question I want to ask to you is, who is growing onions? Is there someone who raised his hand? I see some people who are growing onions. What are the challenges in growing onions? Can you tell me something? The one who raised his hand. What's the challenging of growing onions? Fusarium? Is that a big problem? Yes? I will come back to that, because our breeders must have work, so when there are problems or challenges, we keep them at work. So, very good. Thank you. Who knows the Alpe d'Huez? I think we are in France. It's, yeah, in the Netherlands we call it sometimes a Dutch mountain, but I think it's really a big distance. It's 1,200 kilometers from the Netherlands. It's in the France Alps. 2 weeks ago, on the 2nd of June, I've been there. What I've done was climbing the Alpe d'Huez. It's a mountain of 1,700, 1,800 meters high, and you start on a level of 800 meters below, above sea level. So you have to climb 1,000 meters per climb. I've climbed it by bike 6 times in one day. Some people say, okay, you're crazy. Well, maybe I am, but why I mention this, this example is because it's almost the same as onions. You have to prepare, you have to understand, you have to be motivated, and you must have dedication. Not by cycling, but also by growing onions. Because someone raised his head and said, okay, Fusarium is a problem or a challenge. What can we do with that? That's something about the presentation I want to share with you, because it's about experiences, challenges, but also knowledge. We are here with 300, 350 people who all have knowledge of the onion, growing, onion chain. So we must share that with each other, otherwise we can't survive. So I'll give some slides with some pictures, but also with some challenges, and in the end, hopefully everybody has the feeling that they will overwin all the challenges all together. Here is something about the world and the world of onions. You see the different colors. The north part, that's the very long day area where we are now still. Today is the longest day, 21st of June. It's a day of almost 17 hours of day length, from coming up with the sun and going down with the sun. That's a very long day. An area between that, it's the long day area. So that's about 14, 15 hours of day length. Another layer is the intermediate, or the mid-long day. And on the most part of the world, it's a short day onion. They're all different types, all with different genetics, with different characteristics. So for example, the very long day onion you can store almost for 1 year. We are here on a very nice farm where they sold, I think, last week the last onions from last harvest, And yesterday we've seen a field of overwintering onions, which they can be harvested. So here we are on a company where we have 1 year around of onions. And that's excellent because you can, you can fulfill the customers with the same quality almost, and always on the same circumstances. We have some breeding trials everywhere around the world. You see all the dots. And now you don't see you can see the different colors, yellow, green, also the white ones. We have some growing areas where we grow the bulbs. We have some seed areas where we grow the seeds, for example here as well, in the neighborhood. France is a very important country for growing seeds, for producing seeds. As I mentioned, the onions, they are world travelers. They go by ship, by car, and now you see some cloudy, some clouds above the ship where they are transported in. Because at the moment the transport costs are very high, the energy costs are very high, so it is a little bit cloudy. So we have to overwin that cloudy weather. And it's the same as this morning when we arrived here, it was also a little bit cloudy. I think today, after the presentations, the sun will shine again. Or at least, we'll do our best. Some facts. We have about 900,000 hectares of onions worldwide. And here you see the differences in the area. As I explained, the very long day, the long day and intermediate, the short day, also the sets, and the shallots. Here it is, shallots from seeds. I do it by purpose, of course, because we only have shallots from seeds, and I know that there in France are also a lot of shallots who come out of the bulb. You see also a picture of table of the world onion consumption. That's increasing. That's very good for everybody who's growing onions or packing onions or shipping onions, because then they have enough work for the future as well. These are some facts. This is also a fact that the onion consumption per capita is not the highest in Europe. As you can see here on this on the sheet, there are a lot of countries, but well, I can't see any country with very high consumption as we have in especially Africa. That's the country of the world area where the consumption is highest per capita. For example, in France and the Netherlands, as I'm coming from, we eat about 12 kilograms per capita of onions. So that can be increased as well, because now we have a lot of export, but when we are eating a little bit more by ourselves, we have less export, less transport costs, maybe a higher price for the grower as well. There are some developments worldwide. There is growth in population. Unfortunately, the main growth is an area with the high onion consumption. As I mentioned, especially in Africa, they use a lot of onions. They eat a lot of onions. There are also developments like the costs of transports and labor. They are increasing, unfortunately. There's also more pressure on available good soils. The example we just received from the audience was there is fusarium. I know that fusarium is not only in the Netherlands a problem or a challenge. It's in more places in Europe a challenge. I'm also coming to in South Africa or in Argentina. There are also problems with soil fungi like fusarium or white rot, things like that. Well, there is protection of own markets. Behind that, there's more paperwork and administration before entering a market. When you want to export to China, for example, it will give high barriers to enter that market. That's not always positive for us, but of course it's protection of their own market. And we see the same, for example, in Senegal. After a certain period, we cannot export anymore to Senegal. They close the borders, And they say, okay, now we have to protect our own growers, our own onions, because otherwise the prices will decrease. There are less good soils. There's a limitation of areas or other genetics is also available. There's use of transplants. So there are some developments which we sometimes cannot influence, but we can try to adapt to those circumstances or to those developments. So, what I mentioned, we want to have a future perspective without clouds, with sun, and well, onions grow everywhere, so we think in possibilities, not in, well, things what's not possible. I don't like that. So here are the challenges all over the world. Fusarium, the onion fly, white rot, downy mildew, thrips, pink root, neck rot, staphylium, water, too less or too much. Yesterday we've had some water here as well. You've seen it this morning. Well, you have to adapt to that circumstances. When you see this list, you say, oh, why I am still growing onions? Because there are so many challenges and there are so many problems. We have to do something about it. So we, from sales, with our breeding, have to give added value, especially combined added value, like Fusarium, pink root, and downy mildew resistance. We have to improve our resistance against abiotic stress. We have to make intercrosses with other lines from other areas, because we want to have a very strong root system, but we also want to have the yield. So this is, in short, some pictures of other countries, areas. Africa, what I mentioned, there are some problems in the soil, but also with labor, or with yields, with water, thrips. South Africa, political issues, transport costs are very high. Also the open pollinated versus the hybrids, but also water, we've seen it before. So we try to share experiences by visiting fields together with our breeders and growers. We do it all over the world. Also in the Netherlands, where we have the Fusarium problems, where we have downy mildew problems, where we have high energy costs, where we have bacterial, onion and bean fly. We see some same things in the UK, for example, also downy mildew, bacterial, Fusarium, but also they start to complain a little bit about the import from the Netherlands. They think we get well, money from the government to deliver very cheap to other countries. But that's not the case, I can explain. We have interaction also in Denmark, where we have a local market. They grow especially for local areas. They want to have a very strong root system, but they also have some challenges in downy mildew. So here are some challenges. The first three pictures you see is the onion fly. On the right side you see the downy mildew, and also the picture below. It's not so very clear, but there's a big difference in the field. On the middle side you see the pink root system, so the pink root in the onions. That's a problem. And on the left below, there you see a very nice, strong root system, which you want to have, of course. Then we are in France. Yes, last year we have been here as well. So we took already some experience with us. And there you also have to share knowledge. You have to provide service, and not only in France, but everywhere. You have to visit the growers. I think it was here, this picture. You have to do the field inspections. And afterwards you have to evaluate. And that's of great importance, because you have to do it from breeding side together with sales, but also with the customers. And then, after visiting those fields, analyzing the challenges, see what we can do in the future. We have to, well, to give the input to breeding that they have to start to make new varieties which adapt to the market. Of course, that's not so easy. It will take 15 or maybe 10 years to make a new variety. Then production has to start with producing seeds. And then, from limited availability, we have to go to complete sales. And then, from the challenges I mentioned, we have to go to happy customers. That's what we have to do as a seed company. Fortunately, there is a good outcome of this info exchange. And that's not only our work, but that's also coming from you. Because when we know the problems, we know the challenges, we can adapt to that. And there you see the examples: Highlander with downy mildew resistance, Redlander with downy mildew resistance, High Sky with intermediate resistance of Fusarium, High Gate, also an intermediate resistance of Fusarium, High Singer, extreme strong root system, the Innovator Shallot with downy mildew resistance. That's what we want to provide and give to you. What comes next? Our breeders are still working, also for the coming 50 or maybe 100 years, because breeding never stops. So we have to make crosses with downy mildew and Fusarium resistance. We have to make crosses with higher level of Fusarium resistance. We have to make crosses with pink root resistance, and all with the best firmness and the best yield and the best skin. Otherwise, when you don't have yield, you don't have onions, and you don't have a price, and you cannot make nice storage like this. So, what's important? That you are providing enough information to us. We have to interact. We have to cooperate with each other. And only when you cooperate, or when you can share information, you can also multiply or make it better for you, but also for us. So you have to share this, we have to learn from each other, we have to visit each other, and of course, there are some challenges we cannot influence, so we have to overwin this with, like the cost or diseases or government measures. But in the end, when you choose the right genetics, the right seed supplier, but also the right partner to sell your onions to, or your shallots, in the end you still become a very good onion or shallot grower or sets grower, and you can deliver whole year around. And the results is, for example, I focus now on Netherlands and France. We have 65% market share in the Netherlands. That's a total market of about 35,000 hectares of onions. But 92% of the onions is exported. So all over the world, we see Dutch onions. And it's only because of the quality of the onions and the quality of breeding, and the quality of the growers. That's the reason why we can export 92% of the onions. And that makes the onion a worldwide traveler. They travel more like the breeders from us. In France, we still have 45% market share. It is increasing, especially now with the resistance which is coming up. The zero residue market is growing here. So it's a very nice market for us. We see very positive future perspective. It's a little bit smaller market in the Netherlands, but the quality is excellent, what's coming from here. So the goal for us in the future is to overwin the challenges, and please interact with sales and breeding of BGS and help yourself for a brighter future. So I want to ask you to raise your hand and then feel under your chair, because we dropped there a sample of seeds, and especially for the ones who are not using our genetics at the moment. Here you can make a start for a brighter future for yourself and a little bit for us. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jaap. Thank you very much. And I don't know if you have received the message. Je ne sais pas si vous avez reçu le message, mais donc sous Sous votre chaise, vous avez un échantillon de notre génétique Bejo. Thank you very much, Jaap, for this world tour of the expertise of Bejo and the Grottenslot, and to have underlined also the expertise of the French production.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.